stand at the top of our mat. Take your feet hip-width distance apart. And then just feel into the connection. Maybe lift your toes and then place them back down. And just feel into how that feels different. Do you feel any tension in your toes that you can maybe release? And then we just start with a very simple body scan all the way from our toes, our heels, the sole of the feet, into our calves. And then maybe you feel that there is some tension in your lower back. So what happens if you would tilt your hips a little bit, your pelvis? Would that change anything? Do you feel something else activating in your abdominals lower down? Or maybe that is less comfortable. So maybe let's start rotating, circling our hips very gently. It's those micro movements that sometimes allow us to explore and feel into what we need, what change we maybe have to make. And sometimes this is very small. I think we are quite often conditioned to think that change has to be big and huge. But sometimes we just need to calibrate. So then take a deep breath in. Feel the breath filling your lungs. Draw your shoulders to your ears and down your spine. So if you look at the way how you stand now, as in like literally a minute or two before, all the little adjustments that you have made, how they make you feel different. And then breathe in, reach your hands up to the ceiling. Again, make space between the shoulders and the ears and lengthen your spine. See if you can really lengthen your spine. Take your hands together and then slice down in front of you, come into a forward fold. And then maybe just hang here for a moment, feeling into the heaviness of your head. Maybe grab the elbows. And maybe here you want to swing from side to side, from left to right. Maybe that feels comfortable. Maybe you want to go forth and back. Small changes that can really change the way how we feel comfortable, happy. But knowing what these are requires us to tune in so that we can calibrate in a way that it helps us. If your next breath in, take your hands to your shins, draw your shoulders back and come into a figure of 7. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine. Really feel how this creates space between each vertebra. Breathe out and forward fold, come down. Breathe in, shift your weight into your right leg and step your left leg back behind you. Lower your left knee. Take a moment here. Lift your toes like we did earlier and then place them back down. How does the connection maybe feel different? Maybe there is no difference. Maybe you need to walk your foot more forward so that your heel and your knee are parallel. Again, it's a very small change, but it makes all the difference because you're protecting your knee differently. And then breathe in, take your hands and reach up to the ceiling. And as you stay here, maybe you feel that your knee would prefer a pillow to be cushioned, to feel more comfortable. then just pause the video and go and get that. Equally, you can just double the mat, just like that. And then again, check in with your pelvis, feel into the left side of your hip flexors. And then grab hold of your right wrist and tilt slightly to the left. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And how this side stretch opens up a little bit more. Take another breath in. Let go of the hands. And breathe out, take your hands down, frame your front foot. If you've used your mat, just unravel that. And then turn your left foot 90 degrees. Then come up, take your left hand down to the left side, stretch your right leg out and reach up to the ceiling. Draw the shoulder blades together. And maybe you want to come onto the heel here. Maybe you want to stay on the inside of your foot. Feel into how changing this changes your sensation, your comfort. I think quite often in life we don't take time to really feel in those small changes that can help us calibrate. And then maybe lift your right leg up. Maybe you can feel that on the outer edge of your hip. Maybe you want to take a bind. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. These poses can change, give us different shapes, different perspectives, different connections, just by small changes. If you have a bind, just let go of your foot, come back up, and then lower your right leg back down. Take your right hand down and your left hand down. And then step your left foot between your hands and lower your right leg to the floor. And again here, maybe move your foot slightly forwards so that the heel and the knee are in parallel. Lift your toes and place them back down. And then breathe in, reach your hands up, look up. Maybe this side is slightly different. And get hold of your right wrist, or your left wrist with your right hand. Just slightly pull towards the right side. Check in with your knee. Feel into your hip flexors. Maybe you need to tilt your pelvis slightly to get a deeper stretch in your hip flexors. Maybe you need to roll up your mat once more for your knee support. And take your hands down, frame your front foot. And then turn your right leg 90 degrees. Move to the other side of your mat. Press your right hand in and your left hand up and stretch your left leg out. Then you come onto the other side and maybe you feel this more intensively on this side. Maybe you need to adjust your lower leg differently. Breathe in, lift your left leg. Maybe you want to stay here and keep your left foot flexed, Or maybe you want to take a bind on this side. This bind might look different for each and every one of us. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And if you have a bind, let back stretch out your left leg. Take your left hand down to the mat and then come into a high plank. And then take a moment here in your high plank. You can always lower your knees if you need to. Just to feel into that. There are quite a lot of pressure on your wrists. Can you dome through your shoulders more to take off that pressure? And then breathe in, shift your weight forward. Breathe out, come into a low plank. Breathe in, upward facing dog, or maybe a baby cobra. And then breathe out and come into a downward facing dog. Walk your dog out slightly. Press through the fingertips and the palms so you take the wrist off take the pressure off from your wrists. Keep breathing in through the nose and then let go, breathe out through the mouth. And as you are in your downward facing dog, you might find that you're always going into the same default position, the distance between your hands, the distance between your feet. So let's have a little play around with our calibration. So take your left foot and your right foot and come to the edges of your mat. Again, feel into this downward facing dog, how this feels different when your legs are further apart. Maybe this is less comfortable, maybe there is no difference. And then take your hands to the edges of your mat. So it's like a wide-legged dog. And then from here, step your feet really narrow together, almost like that the big toes touch, but keeping your hands wide. So very small movements in a way, but also very big ones in the way of how you can feel. And then take your hands together so your thumbs meet in the middle. How do you feel in this narrow stance? And then come back into your neutral, your default position. Maybe you think, oh, I'm glad I'm back here. Maybe you taking a little bit wider without knowing. Breathe in, bend your knees and step, jump to the front of your mat. Come into a halfway lift. Pull the bit of your belly up and in. And really lengthen from the tailbone to the ground. And keep your focus down onto the floor, creating length in your neck. Breathe out, forward fold. And then press through all four corners of the feet. Reach up, look up, extended mountain pose. Breathe in, lengthen. Breathe out, come into a chair pose. Take your hands to your heart center. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine. Breathe out, twist from the waist, and then bring your right elbow down to your left knee. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And then check in with your right knee. Has it gripped forward? So pull your right hip back slightly. Just a small movement. And see how that feels. then you can open up your arms, take your right arm down, your left arm up to the ceiling. Feel into how this opening creates space. And breathe out, forward fold. Grab your elbows. And maybe again swing from left to right, maybe forwards and backwards, maybe stillness. Sometimes calibration also means that even if we do certain things, we have a certain routine. Sometimes we like it that way and sometimes we like it another way. Sometimes I like my coffee black and sometimes I like a latte. Sometimes I like frothy milk and sometimes I don't. It's all the same drink, but in the end of the day, it's those small little changes that can make the difference. Bend your legs, press through all four corners of the feet, reach up, look up, extended mountain pose once more. Pull a bit of your belly up and in as your tailbone descends. Breathe in, lengthen through the spine. Breathe out, take your hands to heart center. Draw your shoulder blades down. And I like to walk my feet narrow together to go into chair pose, but you might want to stay more wide-legged, that's up to you. Bend your legs, come into your chair pose. Breathe in, lengthen. Breathe out, twist from the waist. Left elbow to right knee. Again, check in with your left knee. If it creeps forwards, just slightly pull it back. Maybe open up your arms. Left arm goes down, right arm goes up. Maybe the calibration that you need to do is deepening your breath rather than the pose. Our breath is a great instrument to calibrate, to reset, to check in, to change emotions, thoughts, and even actions. And breathe out, forward fold. Let your head hang heavy. Maybe take your feet hip width distance apart. Take your hands to your shins, halfway lift. And breathe out. Take your feet as wide as the yoga mat. Bend your legs, breathe in, reach up. And really spread your legs and your hands out. Spark your fingertips. Tuck your tailbone in. And then breathe out, take your hands to heart center. Take a moment here. Feel the connection between your heartbeat, and your body. And then with your next breath out, lower down into a yogi squat. Press the elbows into the knees. And your heels might be on the floor, they might not be. Maybe you would like to put a cushion underneath your sacrums just to support you. Whatever you need, just listen to your body and make those adjustments. Calibration needs time sometimes, also patience and some awareness. Sometimes we don't have the answer, and so calibrate is also a little bit of trial and error to see what works. or maybe what doesn't. And then come down onto your mat, onto your back. Feel the soles of the feet on pressing into the mat. We're going to set up for bridge pose and wheel if you would like to. So take your feet as close to your glutes as you can. Press the palms and the forearms into the mat. And then we come up for the count of 5. Take a deep breath in. Come up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Feel into that connection, but also whether you can lift your hips a little higher by really pressing through the arms. And with your next breath out, lower for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take a moment here to just relax your lower back. And then this time maybe you would like to interlace the hands underneath. So walk your hands, your shoulders underneath your body, your upper body. And then we breathe in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And feel if your hips are reaching up higher this time. So a gentle change in your hands, the way you hold them, the way you push through, use your arms, creating more height. Is there anything in your life where you need to make some small little changes to get more height? Whatever that means to you. One more breath in and out. Let go of the hands. Lower down vertebra by vertebra. And take a moment here to just feel into the connection between the mat and your back before we set up for wheel. If you don't want to do wheel, you can do another bridge. Or perhaps you just want to stay here and rest. If you're joining me for wheel, then take your hands beside your ears. Walk your feet in a little bit further. And then I like to lift my hips a little bit before I start pressing into my hands and into my toes. I like to lift my heels up as well to get more height. So take a deep breath in, come up for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Press through the toes, press through the hands. And lower for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come down vertebra by vertebra. Be really mindful of your spine. And then take the soles of the feet together. Open your knees up wide. Take one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And just take a moment here to relax, to feel into that pose. Maybe you want to move your feet further down. Maybe you want to open more, have more of a stretch, put the feet further up towards your sacrum. Again, there is these little changes that you can make to feel a different intensity. And this will be different for each and every one of us. So while we all maybe are in the same pose, we all have different calibrations that suit us. There is no one size fits all. Take your hands to the outer edges of your thighs. Draw your knees in together and then draw your knees into your chest. Take your hands to the outer edges of your feet and set up for a happy baby. Again, maybe you want to keep hold of the outer edges. Maybe you're more comfortable to put your hands onto your calves or onto your thighs. Maybe you want to wrap them around the fingers, around the big toes. Maybe you want to swing from left to right. Maybe you want to move. Maybe you want to be in stillness. Make any changes that allow you to really feel into the pose, feel comfortable, connected, and content. And then let go of your feet and stretch them up to the ceiling so that the soles of the feet look up to the ceiling. And you can stay here in waterfall, or if you would like, you can press into a shoulder stand. If you are in a shoulder stand, really take your hands onto the back, support it, and then see if you can draw your elbows in. Keep your feet either flexed, sparked, but engaged. Keep breathing. This can be difficult in this inversion. And then maybe lower your feet behind you into plow pose. Maybe the toes touch the floor, that's fine, then you can let go of your hands. Maybe they don't, it doesn't really matter. Keep breathing. If you are in plow pose, maybe bend your legs and come into deaf man's pose. Wrapping your knees around your head, around your ears. Although I can't reach my ears, so and then with your next breath out, lower down vertebra by vertebra. Use your hands as brakes. Take your feet down to the outer edges of your mat. Let your knees fall in together. Feel into this connection again with the mat. So I hope that this short little session on how to calibrate is helpful on your journey, and that you can take some of that off the mat and into your life. Take your hands to your forehead center. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.